and welcome to Getting to Good Enough, a podcast to help you let go of perfectionism so you can do more of what you love. I'm Shannon Wilkinson. I'm a life coach in Portland, Oregon. I'm a recovering perfectionist who's getting better at good enough.
And I'm Janine Adams, a certified professional organizer in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm lucky enough to be naturally good at good enough.
And today we are talking to Laura Roeder.
Shannon, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Thanks. I'm excited because we have a special guest today.
We do. So why don't you share with our listeners a little bit about our guest, Laura?
You betcha. So Laura Roeder is the founder of Meet Edgar, a social media application that provides an effective way of scheduling and organizing content to automate publishing. She has been a featured speaker at South by Southwest and the White House, and writes about independent entrepreneurship for Forbes, Inc., and Fast Company. Wow. Welcome, Laura. I think it's a real feather in your cap to add a guest on Getting to Good Enough to that list.
I am modifying my bio as we speak.
That's a fabulous bio.
Oh, well, we're so glad to have you with us today. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Great. Well, to start, we have to know, do you consider yourself a perfectionist, or are you naturally good at good enough?
I think I'm naturally good at it. I think I'm a Janine.
Yay!
Yeah. That's awesome. Are there any areas where you think that's any different, where you tend more towards perfectionism, or is that just sort of an across the board, you know how to get to good enough and hang out in that space?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I think the things that I have a lot of background and knowledge in. So for me, that's marketing and online marketing in particular. That's kind of my background and where I came from. It's definitely easier for me to overthink those things. So I tend not to have that habit of, not releasing something. That's not really how it plays out for me, but maybe more getting into those like thought spirals of, this isn't working and we should have done it differently, and thinking about 100 different ways that it could be different when maybe that's not so useful.
That's really interesting, because I expected you to say the opposite, that the things that you know more about are easier to be good enough at.
No, because I think for me, I can kind of like fixate on those things, especially now because I don't do the marketing for our company anymore. So it's, especially when you're not doing it, well, you know how it is. Like your own stuff is perfect and everybody else's stuff, why didn't they do, this or that? So it's very easy for me to like look at a, landing page our marketing team created and think, why didn't they do it this way or that way? Or why didn't they put this or that in? So I'm smart enough not to express that and, stop all progress at my company.
Yeah.
But I think I have those thoughts more for those things, whereas something like, our finances, which is just like, I have no interest in doing it. I'm so glad that there's humans that are great at it. I look at it because I have to. I don't love it. I'm never like looking at our spreadsheets being like, why didn't she organize it this way? I'm just like, oh, thank God she did it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I feel like I can absolutely relate to what you're saying, Laura. This is Janine. I also have team members. And just yesterday, we were working in a basement, and I was upstairs at the end of the session, and I just went down at the end to sort of take after pictures and see how everything shook out. And the labels on the bins were not how I would have made them. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I just said, it's good enough. I mean, I really totally channeled our podcast. Yeah. But because I too was smart enough to know that would not be a beneficial thing to try to address at that time.
Right. Your team has worked so hard, and then you're like, why don't the labels look like this? They're like, oh God, exactly. Look at everything else.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting.
Well, so yeah, that's a really good question though. So how do you deal with, since you work with a good sized team, don't you have about 2 dozen people or so with Meet Edgar now?
Smaller than that. We have about 15.
Oh, 15. Okay. And so how do you deal with everyone's different perceptions of what's good enough? Or, are you dealing with anyone who's a perfectionist and maybe that's sort of holding them back? Or
yeah, I think it's definitely something that we battle as a company. I mean, in software, there's always a problem of wanting to keep making things better and better before you release them. And there's a term in software also called scope creep, that applies to any industry, where it's like you started out wanting to do this, and then before you know it, it's become this really complicated thing. And I think especially in our product and our development process, because it's hard, right? Because nothing is ever done. Everything could always be improved. If not the functionality, then how, it looks or how it's presented to the user. So I think we're always trying to keep ourselves in check of like, we just need to release the good enough version. We just had a big feature release. We just added Instagram, which is really exciting. It's something our customers have wanted for a long time. And something that was hard there, to work with Instagram, you have to have a mobile app. And we didn't have a mobile app before, but we knew that if we built out a fully functional mobile app, then it would be another year, right, before that went live. So we're like, okay, we have to do a mobile app, but we really need it to be just for Instagram. But then, it's like, well, but we're already building this, might as well let people do that too. And it just honestly was really hard to decide when to cut it off.
Yeah.
Right. That seems, because I could totally see how you would want to add all of this other stuff in, but then you have the real factors of time and energy and money and what you can focus on right now to get where you want to go.
Plus the urgency of your customers asking for Instagram. I can imagine that was very important to get going. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, our customers wanted this ASAP. It's hard because, of course, our customers would also prefer everything be in the app, right? Like, of course, anything that you can do on desktop, you would prefer if you could do that in the mobile app. So it's like, that once you release it, you are going to get all this feedback, all these requests. So it's like finding that balance of delivering people a truly good enough experience. It's like, okay, you wanted Instagram, so we're delivering you Instagram. The other things you want are on the list for now. But we don't have an unlimited budget. And I mean, even companies that do, it's always interesting to me being in the software world, because we've all had that experience of using pieces of software with huge teams. We've all used like Spotify or something like that, and you're like, this thing is still busted. Like, I still can't add my playlist from that menu. Like, what are they doing all day? And it just shows it's not even necessarily about resources. You can have tons and tons of resources, but still not create, solve all the problems immediately.
Mm-hmm. I was an early subscriber to Edgar, and I know that you launched a great thing and then you kept improving it. Like, you kept rolling out new features and new ways to do things. And I remember thinking, gosh, it's interesting to me that you knew when it was okay to launch it, and then that now is the time to launch, and then we'll just keep adding these things. And I'm wondering, how do you even figure that out? I mean, when you have that long list, like you do with your going mobile app, how do you know when it's ready good enough to launch?
Yeah, I mean, so I think you always have to recognize the space that you're in, right? And I think probably most people listening to this podcast are in an industry that maybe they're not heart surgeons, maybe we got a few heart surgeons listening, but I think most people are not. And you have to be real about that, right? Because for us, we're sending out people's social media updates. So if we screw that up, it sucks for a customer. Don't get me wrong, right? Obviously, we try not to screw that up. We try to send the update that you wanted to send at the right time. But if we miss an update, or like something, doesn't go out at the right time or whatever, it also is not a life and death situation for our customer.
Right.
It's like their
no
business.
one's going to die from a missed update.
Right.
It's
And
not
even
the Hawaii emergency defense system.
Yeah. If you are for you guys, if you're a life coach or a professional organizer and you like put in a system where you like showed up an hour late for a call one time. I mean, you don't want to, obviously that's not the experience you want to give to your client, but it also like, it's okay at the end of the day. And I think that's what we all have to remember, releasing a feature when, it's not perfect exactly as you want it, or saying, okay, we're done with this home organizing even though I really want to label all the drawers and I only got to label some of them. It's like, you have to look at what a huge positive impact you have by getting the thing done for your client or customer, right? Like being able to use Edgar has such a great positive impact in our customers' lives. If we're not able to give them that because we're holding up features, like you said, Instagram's a great example because like people really want an Instagram right now. So I might think I'm doing people some sort of service by making the feature better, but actually I'm robbing them of that experience at all by not giving them the good enough version.
Right. I love that. That's great insight.
Yeah, that's super useful to remember that idea of, if you don't finish at whatever level, then you don't get the benefit. And we actually did a whole episode on the thrill of done and how it's so common with perfectionism to not finish things because you feel like you're not going to get them right, or you're not going to get them to the level that you want to get them to, or that you don't create opportunities to feel done for now, which is really what you're doing with Edgar, is that it's done for now,
right,
when you release it. And then, because you're continually iterating and improving, but it's done for now.
Yeah, and I think what a stressful experience to create for yourself to never feel done, right? Because I think we all need those little wins along the way. And so if you are constantly viewing all your work as never done, I think your work just might become this negative experience where you never get those wins.
Welcome to the life of a perfectionist. Yeah, it is. It's really bad. And like I said at the beginning, I'm a recovering perfectionist, but I've definitely been in those situations, whether it's, sort of a maintenance ongoing thing that's never really finished, but I don't create spaces where I feel finished for now, or it's a big project that is going to take some time to finish. It doesn't feel like it was my habit, and I've had clients like this too, where you don't get to sort of celebrate the interim goals until you are finished with the whole thing.
Yeah.
Which is sort of sad when you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just talked about that last week, didn't we, Shannon? In feeling satisfied. I mean, that's one of the themes in that episode, where we can feel satisfied with good enough at the moment, and before we move on to making it even better.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious about the people you work with. Do you ever have people who tend more towards perfectionism? And I was thinking that it could even be with with your users, with your clients that use Edgar, if the troubles they have, or the reasons they might call for support are from perfectionistic things, or if anyone on your team tends towards perfectionism. How do you deal with that?
It's an interesting question because it actually is a huge problem with our customers because of the nature of our software. So something that's a little different about Edgar than other social media tools is you need to load up a certain amount of content in your library, because that's kind of the whole idea, is that you get this great library and then the tool does it for you, automatically repurposes that content, where other tools are just kind of one in, one out. write a status update, the tool sends it, and then you start from scratch every time. So Edgar does require some more initial work. I mean, it can be really easy. You can just, import your feed from your blog automatically, and that can be it. But because it does require that initial work, I mean, that is a hurdle that we're constantly dealing with as a company, convincing people that they've done enough to make Edgar go live. Right. That's something we see all the time. People are like, well, I'm still kind of fiddling with my library. I'm still working on my library. So they haven't let Edgar send out their status updates for them. Obviously, they don't find as much value in the tool if he's not actually working.
If they're not using it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, like we've tackled that in different ways by trying to be clear with people. This is how many pieces of content you need. So that's actually something we're working on building now, showing it really clearly in the app. Like, okay, you have 20 pieces of content, hit go. It's good, hit go right now. And I think in the past we were like, oh, well, we don't, people use Edgar in all different ways. We don't want to be too prescriptive or like tell them exactly what to do. But we found that people just love being told exactly what to do. It's such a relief, which I think it's like in our businesses, we can overthink things. Like, I want to give people like 10 different options for packages. But as a consumer, it's like such a relief when someone's just like, here's exactly what you eat. Here's exactly what to do for your exercise routine. Like, here's the spreadsheet to use for your P&L. Don't figure it out. Like, just use this spreadsheet. We're all just like, yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so true. I love going to exercise classes for that reason, or to yoga classes and stuff. I want to go. I don't want to have to think about it, and I want someone to tell me what to do.
Yes. Yes. I am the same way. Just like, I will listen and I will just do what you're doing and not think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting that by giving those parameters, it really does. It helps if someone tends towards perfectionism. It helps them know that they are, quote unquote, getting it right. Mm-hmm. And if someone is already good enough, then they just know, like, oh, I can just do this, and I don't have to think about it, and we can all move on.
Yeah, and people can always choose, to do something different than we're saying. But yeah, another thing we have built into Edgar is you put all your status updates into categories. And so we have suggested default categories. When you first load up the app, we have, your own blog posts, other people's content, like promotional content. And the vast majority of people just use our default categories, which we didn't really know what to expect. And of course we had a lot of like, oh, are these the right categories, and are these going to be useful for people? And like, we need to find out their industry and create custom categories. And we found like that we really don't need to do all that. People are they're very happy to have the suggestions, and it just makes their life a lot easier to just slot their stuff into the suggestions. And yeah, if you want to create different stuff, you can, but most people don't.
That's fascinating. People are very interesting, aren't they? And the way they defy our expectations is interesting as well.
And you also, like, something that I've learned is you have to look at what people say versus what they do, because we'll find that people will ask for things that sound good that, like, they never actually use. And this is actually something we've struggled a lot with the analytics component of the software. Is people ask for like a lot of really detailed data about how their social media is performing. They're like, we wish you had, this view and this analysis. And from day one, we've found that the whole analytics section, we've done it different ways, but like, it is by far like the least used part of the software. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people never look at the reports that they're given in any way, but like they feel like they should. They have this idea like, oh, someday I'm going to have, all this time to analyze my social media and its performance. So I want this and that. And like, that is a delicate balance for us, because we do want to give people what they want / think they want. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Just because they don't look at it isn't even necessarily a bad reason. Like, maybe, like sometimes you just want the peace of mind to know that it's there, and I could totally understand that. But it is a struggle. How much resources do we devote to this thing that people are asking for and they like to have, but we actually know they're probably not actually going to look at?
Wow.
Yeah, that would be a struggle. Huh. But I do agree that feeling heard and just knowing you could check your analytics if you wanted to makes you feel better, even if you never check it.
It does. And, it reminds me of something I learned early on in my career. So I used to do, I started out doing social media training and consulting, and sometimes I would get frustrated if someone asked me a question that I thought was totally off topic. Maybe I'm talking about how to optimize your content for Twitter, and someone's like, I'm having trouble loading images on my website. What do I do? And I would be like, we're not talking, obviously I would just do this in my head, I wouldn't say it, but I'm like, we're not talking about that. Why are you asking about that? And someone gave me the advice. They're like, you know what? If they're asking, they clearly think it's a relevant question. This is a question in their head. It's bothering them. They're not able to process what you're saying because they're stuck on but how am I going to do this if I can't even get the images to work on my website? And that was such a great learning and such a great epiphany for me. It doesn't matter what I think is important or what I think people should be asking or whatever. If they're asking it, clearly they think it's important, right? That's why they're there asking it. So you really have to listen to what your customers are saying. And, sometimes you have the experience to know that it's really about something else. I mean, I can only imagine as a professional organizer, the life stories that people want to tell you while you're going through their stuff, And I would imagine you just kind of have to know that's part of the process.
Yes. Yeah, and the listening is so important because if I'm interrupted by what doesn't feel like a relevant comment or question, I have learned that just listen to it and answer it and try to figure out how that's relevant, just like you said. Yeah, because somehow it is relevant. Yeah.
Yeah. And understanding sort of the question behind the question.
Right.
Like you said, why does that matter more than the answer to the question?
Yeah, and I'm sure, Shannon, you have a whole lot of experience with that in your coaching practice.
Yeah, and that's something that you have to get really sort of fine-tuned to understand is how to figure out what someone is saying is relevant. And, a lot of times I will want people to sort of talk from the top of their mind as opposed to sort of think about it logically, because whatever comes out at the top of their mind is going to be the most important thing, even if it doesn't sound that important to begin with. It's interesting, like you said, Janine, how people's minds work. But the idea of people, wanting all of these different things, wanting, deep analytics but never using them is really fascinating. I think that sort of carries over to a lot of things. We just want to know that we can do it, even if we never do.
Yeah, and I mean, it I think ties back to the perfectionism topic, and that people, have a lot of anxiety that they're not doing things right or that they should be doing more. Because that's another piece of advice I give people a lot is just start doing anything, because especially if people aren't on social, they get very overwhelmed by this idea of having to create so much content, which is a big reason why we created Edgar. Okay, you can have this body of work that you can keep repurposing, and it makes things a lot easier. But, the analytics can just be a form of procrastination of I shouldn't, I have to see if images or videos perform better before I know if I can create more images or more videos. It's just do whatever's easier for you, And also, as small businesses, it's this fantasy that we have that we're going to get these really clear answers in the data when really, all of our sample sizes are too small anyway. When you have your 5,000 followers, seeing which link got more clicks is it's not super conclusive data. This one got 4 and this one got 2, but we want it goes back to what I said, right? Like we just want someone to tell us the right answer and what to do. And like the data analysis can be a form of that. Or I would think, in life coaching, people might want to be like, okay, I need to make sure I've examined every way that I can solve this problem, or like every angle of this before I'm allowed to just choose which path I'm going to go down. When really it's like you already know what you want to do, but you feel like you have to do this rational analysis to have permission to do that.
Yes. That's so true. And that like wanting, your unconscious mind knows, or you have this intuition or this gut feeling or whatever you want to call it. Like you just have this sense of what the thing is that you want to be doing. But then you have all of this other stuff that your logical mind wants to either validate that or, try to somehow make sure that is the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Janine, do you bump up against that too with your clients?
Oh, sure, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people call me in because they feel like they could organize their stuff. They're well enough they've got the organizing skills, but the perfectionism doesn't allow them to do it because they don't know if it's the right way to do it. And sometimes all I do is give permission, lots of permission to people to let go of things or to set things up that way. And they know what they want, and they know how to do it, but something holds them back, and I think it's usually perfectionism.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, Laura, as a person who's naturally good at good enough, what would you say to someone who struggles with perfectionism on how to adopt more of that way of thinking?
Well, something I think about a lot is how when we do work either in our heads or that is not ever released to other humans, which, every entrepreneur has done a lot of, whether it's like, writing things, writing the pages and email series and descriptions and everything that never get sent out, or just turning those ideas over and over again in your head. Another one is like the networking. People are like, oh, well, I need to do more networking, or I need to talk to more people about my idea. It feels to us like we're getting stuff done, but if you ask someone else, there's no evidence that anything has been done. It's the same. I talk about this with social media too, actually, because people can spend a lot of time reading articles on social media, which is fun and which is totally the fun purpose, but does not help your business in any way. Right. So people can feel like, oh, well, I spent an hour on social media. And it's well, reading blog posts or viewing images on Instagram is not social media marketing. That's just social media fun time. And the way you can tell the difference is, did you leave evidence? Because when you're marketing your business, you're engaging with people with comments, you're leaving content behind. You can look at your account and you can see a trail of what's happened. So I think that's just a good way to look at it, kind of black and white. If someone is coming up cold, do they see work being done? Do they see, the emails going out or the projects being completed or whatever it is for your business? And if that evidence isn't there, then you haven't achieved good enough, right? You're in perfectionism land.
Right. That's so true. I'd sort of forgotten about that, but our brains do feel like even just thinking about something counts as effort towards completing it. And, I can see how this happens in all different realms of life where, we think it counts just thinking about what we want to do. And the idea of, leaving a trail of evidence to show that you're actually taking action is huge, and that really is a good way to know whether or not you're outside of perfectionism.
And you see it a lot with entrepreneurs, especially before people start their first business, which I think is the hardest time. And we've all met people at conferences that are like, well, I haven't launched yet, but I'm working on, they'll say like, I'm working on it. Like I'm going to either I don't know what type of business I'm going to launch, or I'm going to do this and I'm working on it. And you'll meet people who have been quote unquote working on it for 5 years, 20 years sometimes, right? Like it can happen. And in their head, like they are working on it because they're thinking about it and they're going to networking events, telling people about it and whatever. But that evidence isn't there.
Right. Oh, it's so sad to think that perfectionism can stymie people for so long.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And so completely. Wow. All right. Well, it has been such a pleasure to talk with you today, Laura.
Thank you.
And Janine, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I feel like we've gotten just some wonderful insights, and I think because we're doing this podcast about perfectionism, it seems as though I encounter a lot more perfectionists in my life than I do people who are naturally good at good enough. So that was fun to hear your answer to that question. But no, I really, I love what you had to say, and I know how your ideas have led to so much success for you, Laura. So I think it's really inspirational to hear your take on perfectionism. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So we would love to hear from you, our listeners. You can leave us a message at 413-424-GTGE. That's 4843. You can comment on the show notes at gettingtogoodenough.com. And you'll also find links to all of our social media profiles there. But for now, this is Shannon Wilkinson in Portland, Oregon.
And Janine Adams in St. Louis, Missouri.
And we hope that good enough is getting easier for you.
We started doing a coupon code for first month free, and the coupon code is just podcast in all caps.
Oh, okay, great. So listeners to our podcast can get the first month free with the coupon code podcast.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Well, that's awesome.
I know that, yeah.